many newcomers, PC stands for pain and confusion.
Bringing the PC and the Xbox 360 even closer together.
Windows is a very important game platform. Over
6 million members.
Games for Windows Live, it sucks.
Buggy disaster. Single worst interface ever introduced in the history of PC.
Heard about how bad Games for Windows Live was, and let me tell you, people are not exaggerating.
Hey you. Yeah, look, he's finally awake. Welcome to Microsoft. Don't worry, you'll get used to him. I've prepared the following presentation outlining the glorious future of our company. Sit back, grab a snack, and remember that resistance is futile. Yeah, don't worry, Bill, he's tied up real good.
For the past 6 years, gamers haven't got enough of our box. In our very first attempt to break into the console market, we beat out the industry juggernaut Nintendo. Where they tried to cube their games, we used algebra, and the results have been exponential. Since the release of the original Xbox, our stockholders figured it was time to widen our perspective. Literally, I mean. Hence, the Xbox 360, which has been another monumental success.
Now I know what you're thinking. What about the games?
I think this should speak for itself. Our Microsoft exclusive games inspired us to bring online functionality of the PC space to the consoles, thanks to our proprietary service Xbox Live. The ever-growing internet has been slowly merging with console gaming, and we were the first ones to truly capitalize on it. With Xbox Live, we've given console gamers the ability to call some guy from Equatorial Guinea horrific insults during intense online matches, just like their PC counterparts. Xbox Live has been another epic win, as the kids say for us. But our shareholders have sensed a growing storm in the Microsoft monopoly. Valve, the creators of Not Halo, recently launched their brand new digital storefront Steam, and they're making bank. Forbes estimates that by the end of this decade, nearly half of every PC game download will be through Steam. There's so much money to be made in the PC market that our very own general manager Dean Lester said that Steam is a virtuous cycle for the developer. Not a virtuous cycle like reincarnation or whatever, we're talking about this. So Bill and I were thinking about it. If Microsoft wants to crush the competition, then we need to use our incredible talent of having a lot of money and use our tried and true business strategy of, you made this, I made this. We must return to our roots. Microsoft has always been about the computers. One of our very first successes as a company was creating software for the Altair 8800 computer left. And here's another picture. Our operating systems have become ubiquitous with the word computer. The mere announcement of a new proprietary Windows trademark operating system can make a pair of khakis and New Balances dance like Michael Jackson. Or maybe Myers. The last operating system we released, Windows XP, has been a smash hit. Therefore, we used XP to appeal to the gamers, with our famous catchphrase, ready, set. Microsoft-approved writers have also cemented the games for Windows XP brand. They pumped out viral articles like, Top 10 Reasons Why Gaming on Windows XP Rocks. Number 8. The internet. But our Games for Windows XP campaign didn't catch on like we hoped, so I reflected and gazed upon this beautiful vista, this Windows Vista. The brand new Microsoft operating system for gamers and grandma. Cutting-edge DirectX 10 technology makes those games look extra crispy. Enhanced security measures ensure grandma won't download more RAM again. A new OS, more like, oh sheesh, I can play games with Vista? Gamers will love that joke. It will be the most powerful, easy-to-use operating system ever made. Vista will usher in the renaissance of PC gaming. It's our Sistine Chapel, but spelt like this because computer lingo. We have the utmost faith that our customers will have absolutely no problems with Vista. I mean, they have so much experience with our last OS that we called it XP. Yeah. Yep. Come on. But one of our bean counters had an epiphany, which I'm going to take credit for. Bringing the PC world to consoles was a success, so why don't we bring the console world to the PC? I mean, think about it. One unified platform where gamers from all walks of life could have a shared experience. A PC player could finally earn achievements. A console player could finally have better internet connection. You could play on your Xbox, then jump right back in on your PC. Both platforms working together in perfect harmony. which is why we created a synthesis of these two markets, built upon the shoulders of our most powerful operating system yet, a flawless product for the PC gamer. It's Games for Windows. Bill and I see Games for Windows as the future of Microsoft, and we've already hit the ground running. At E3 of last year, we hinted at the power of this Games for Windows unification.
With a unified gaming and entertainment network, creating a true unified game space. An identity, a unified brand, it's all unified. Unity.
Peter, don't forget the Renaissance thing.
To the third part of the Games for Windows Renaissance. It will be the single biggest launch in the history of Microsoft.
Our marketing team has done an excellent job boosting the Games for Windows brand awareness. Computer Gaming Magazine? I think you mean the brand we purchased and is now the Games for Windows magazine. A German gaming convention in 2006? 9. Games for Window convention. Games for Windows podcast. Games for Windows window cleaner. What's the problem with PC game boxes? Anyone?
Bueller?
Just another little joke to keep it nice and light and corporate friendly.
The answer is no branding. Check it out. All new Games for Windows branded boxes. Now when any troglodyte gamer walks by our games, their one brain cell is going to activate. Our teams already estimate an increase in sales from this packaging alone. Also at E3 of last year, we showed off our very first Games for Windows titles. It was only a handful, but a decent lineup. Me personally, I love playing Asian Vampires LLL on my Altair 8800 computer left. But we're cooking something up that'll make the PC gamers go wild.
Very important announcement about one of the most powerful gaming experiences of all time. It generates more excitement than almost anything else out there. The fan base that hangs on every mere mention of the next chapter.
In addition to Games for Windows, we're also incorporating Xbox Live functionality, which we're calling Games for Windows Live. Yes, you heard me right. The online component of Games for Windows will allow gamers from PC to connect and play with gamers on Xbox. Cross-platform functionality is now a reality. We envision Games for Windows Live to be a service that now defines the bar for online gaming, which could bring together two communities. It's a win-win for everyone. Since we raised the bar, we've got to have cross-platform games that'll sell this service like hotcakes. Hence, Gears of War Windows Vista Edition, with an exclusive $3,000 cash prize tournament, Shadowrun, Asian Vampires again, and of course, Halo. We'll put it on the packaging. We'll show it at every conference. Cross-platform gaming will be the Games for Windows magnum opus. However, cross-platform functionality upkeep ain't cheap. So we're going to charge PC players $50 a year for skill-based multiplayer, even though it's a service that's been free for years on PC. PC gamers will obviously love this change. Our human interaction specialists have projected the exchange to go something like this.
This is a lot smaller than what I expected, but technically you didn't specify, so this is fair. Thank you very much.
To make things as easy as possible for the customers, we will include a sign-in assistant that will walk them through the Games for Windows installation. There will be a Game Advisor extension that will scan their computer's hardware and let them know ahead of time if they can run certain games. We'll have an online marketplace to rival Steam. Windows Vista will make Games for Windows the most secure and easy-to-use gaming software ever made. Gentlemen, we predict that by 2009, Windows gaming will bring in over $9 billion. And that's just from Asian Vampires. We can make a fortune as long as we abide by the 4 foundational pillars of Games for Windows: quality, compatibility, safety, and ease of play. The stars have aligned, the cards have been dealt, and we hold all the chips. It seems the only question left to ask is,
Do you have it in you to make it epic?
If only Microsoft knew just how epic it really would be.
Vielleicht kann ich den ja mal... Oh. Oh. Scheiße.
Welcome to the free market, where the customer is king until they aren't. The reality is that Microsoft had somehow managed to both over and underestimate their customers, as Games for Windows was not the egalitarian utopia they had envisioned. The problems its users faced, while hilarious and surface level, were accentuated by far worse foundational issues. A house is only as strong as its foundation, and Games for Windows had built itself on quicksand. Vista was far more demanding on the computer's drivers, which isn't a big issue if your computer was more powerful, and Microsoft just kinda assumed people would upgrade anyway, except a lot of people's computers were not that powerful yet. Most of the general public in 2007 was still rocking their one family computer from 5 years ago that had Line Writer etched into the screen. So when they did upgrade to Vista, it would lag like crazy, while at the same time Vista would treat its users like a child. The user access controls would constantly ask you for permission to run any program. Remember that for later. You're gonna play Purple Place? You sure you wanna do that? You're gonna open Solitaire? Great choice. You sure about that? Ugh, Grandma's downloading more RAM again. Well, at least she has our consent this time. It was a feature that was intended for enhanced security, yet Microsoft themselves admitted it was meant to be annoying. Apple then dunked on Windows Vista for this very problem.
My new operating system, PCs have a lot of security problems, so he asked me to authorize pretty much anything I do.
You're pointing out Vista's flaws, cancel or allow?
Allow.
Very quickly, the public turned on Vista. The worst part was Windows XP was still supported and ran far better on older computers, so thousands of PC users clung onto XP for dear life. Vista was an ambitious leap forward, yet made for an audience that was still taking baby steps. But remember that Windows Vista was supposed to be the foundation for Games for Windows, and when the foundation goes, so does the house. You know, typically when a group of people center themselves around ideological pillars, those ideas are steadfast and binding. Islam has the 5 pillars of faith. Papa John's has 2 pillars, but Microsoft wanted 4. In the eyes of the customer, those 4 pillars of excellence Microsoft touted as the guiding principles of Games for Windows were more like ironic stilts, because Games for Windows somehow managed to utterly fail in every principle it vowed to uphold. Just how badly did it fail? Well, grab a hard hat, because I hear the first pillar falling.
7, 8, 9. Oh, fiddlesticks.
One of the glaring problems many had right off the bat with Games for Windows and its online counterpart was the hurdles you would jump through just to play a game. If you wanted to play most games with Games for Windows Live, then signing in was not optional. What's that asterisk, you might be asking? Don't worry about it. So many PC gamers reluctantly made an account and jumped over the hurdle. Oh wait, that asterisk actually says you must remain signed in during your gameplay at all times. And if you don't, you're kicked back to the title screen. Dead Rising 2 made you rise up and go sign in.
We're the good guys, Chuck.
Grand Theft, you auto sign into Games for Windows Live. An entirely offline game still means you gotta sign in, buddy. That is, if you could even sign in to start. Many users would be stuck in what they called a sign-in loop. You would sign in, Games for Windows would load, seemingly forgot you signed in, then made you repeat it all again. And for some reason, Games for Windows Live was also programmed to boot up after your game was running. Like Microsoft heard putting the cart before the horse was actual transportation device and not an idiom. Oh, and don't forget that you're also playing on Windows Vista, which will also ask if you're sure you want to play the game. Even if everything goes right, trying to play your games would look like this. Click on the game. Are you sure? Game loads. You're in. Oh, wait a second. Games for Windows Live is loading. Okay, now sign in. Alright, Bill, yeah, he's cool. Keep on gaming, bro. Microsoft did try to alleviate some of this pain by creating the proprietary Tray and Play feature that would actually let you play part of the game while it was currently installing on your PC. Honestly, not a bad idea and was hyped up well enough. Most Halo 2 players claim it actually worked well, but only Halo 2 players. By the time the feature went public, it was only ever integrated into the Windows Vista version of Halo 2, and nothing else. But to use the Tray and Play feature, you had to sign into Games for Windows Live, so tray and pay up, Spartan.
Don't get any funny ideas.
Our industry has talked and dreamed about creating a true, unified game space.
Not really. According to Microsoft, you could only ever have one device signed into a Games for Windows account at one time. So if you're sweating trying to beat the gargoyles and Grandma turned on the Xbox to finally get more RAM, you would be automatically booted from the game and would not be able to sign back in until Grandma signs out of her Xbox. One account on one device at all times. Ironically, some of the most popular games from this era were the ones that were already pre-installed and skipped the entire installation process. A fool can create a complex solution, but only a genius can create a simple one.
Never give up!
And games for Windows rarely made things simpler.
I read it on the internet, so it's true. And that sometimes it doesn't just work.
Simply put, games for Windows did not make gaming more quality or epic. We already talked about the mandatory sign-in process, but we didn't talk about just how horrible it actually was. If you wanted to be a little rebel and not create a Games for Windows Live account, Microsoft would say, okay, gotcha, but I'm not gonna let you save your game.
Thanks.
A common workaround was to create the equivalent of a guest account called an offline profile. In theory, creating an offline profile would allow you to circumvent making an account and letting you save the game, thus the reason why there's still tons of guides collecting dust detailing this exact process. In practice, it meant that PC players with a working internet connection had to arbitrarily handicap themselves from online multiplayer, and playing Dark Souls offline is the fastest way to go hollow. Even if you're a good little boy and create a Games for Windows Live account, if something happens outside of your control, you are the one that's punished. Microsoft servers had a brief power surge, so we're gonna just terminate your offline game session. Sorry, bud. Listen, I know your internet service provider accidentally karate chopped the town's fiber optic cables, but I'm gonna have to kill you. The Dark Souls community was especially rattled by Games for Windows Live, and they rushed out fixes just to have a stable online experience.
So I'm going to show you guys how to fix this. It doesn't have to be difficult. It is very easy to fix, okay? So first thing you're going to do is, well, you need to uninstall Games for Windows Live.
One of the most popular mods at the time was called DS Fix, and all it really did was just make the game functional and let you save consistently. But oopsie daisy, people were getting banned for using DS Fix. Why, you might ask? Well, as per Microsoft's own forum posts,
any type of modding in a game can result in a ban. If the update doesn't come from Microsoft, just avoid using it.
They then made things even worse by saying,
any type of modification to a game is considered cheating. You should never consider doing anything that would unnaturally change or modify a game in any way.
You're now witnessing a masterclass in customer service, because Games for Windows was essentially punishing people for trying to fix a problem that Games for Windows Live created.
The most game-friendly operating system in history.
However, a rule is only as good as its enforcement. Notice how they just kinda said, cheating is bad, okay? It meant that the ban policy was super inconsistent. Try downloading a fix to the game and... You're banned! Literal cheater McCheater pants humping me to death while T-posing. I sleep. A different guy downloaded DS Fix. I also sleep. I'm Games for Windows Live, remember? It's worth noting that this was the case for tons of other online games, by the way. This may sound out there, but if the customer has to fix a problem from something as simple as signing in, then maybe the product is not high quality.
She's the kind of customer that is turning the industry upside down.
I have no idea what this disk drive is.
Perhaps the greatest of Games for Windows sins was incompatibility. Whether you had a high-end computer or a leapfrog tablet, Games for Windows would throw a hissy fit at best or was downright fraudulent at worst. Evidently, a lot of the features that Microsoft bragged about were kinda bad. The Games Advisor was supposed to let you know if your PC could run certain games. All it actually did was give your PC a social credit score. And this social credit score wasn't even accurate, as there were reports of the Game Advisor changing your PC's score literally overnight, and you could only access it using... Internet Explorer? That's too far. That's messed up. Cross-platform play. The magnum opus of Games for Windows Live charged PC players $50 a year, but they also made the game developers pay to use it too. Testing to see how the game you're making functions online, I don't know, man, you got a $5?
Give me rent.
This was such a monumentally bad decision that only a year after its initial announcement, Microsoft went, ha, just kidding, it's free, I'm playing. God, you're so funny, Microsoft. Well, at least I can play Halo 2 with Xbox and PC users, right? You know, one of the biggest multiplayer games of the decade? The game that most would probably hop on Games for Windows Live for, right? You know, your flagship franchise? It's got cross-platform functionality, right? Only a handful of games released with cross-platform functionality. Halo 2 not included.
Betrayal.
Actual system sellers that might have gotten you to join Games for Windows Live had no cross-platform functionality. despite the marketing. Street Fighter, sure you can't. Gears of War,
Screw you!
B-movie game, yeah, you bet your ass. And of the games that were compatible with crossplay, most players reported it didn't even work that well, as many console players said they were getting annihilated by the much faster aiming of a mouse and keyboard versus a controller. Truly shocking. And it still gets worse. In 2010, Microsoft updated the voice codecs, which made it so you could only talk to people on your platform. During matches, PC players could not talk with console gamers, and vice versa. If you wanted to hear the one Xbox player rage on his mic from your PC speakers that everyone fingerbanged, don't lie, it's now gone. This is all assuming you live within the correct country, by the way. Since Games for Windows Live was an extension of Xbox Live, it would only work, even if you paid for it, in 26 countries. And by 2015 was expanded to 42 countries. Sorry to all my Equatorial Guinea gamers, we'll get them next time. Now we've truly saved the best for last. The saves. Games for Windows was infamous for corrupting save files. There was no cloud sync for save files, so if you tried the aforementioned offline profile loophole, any progress could be lost to the ether. This then forced customers to create their own software that would protect your save files from the Games for Windows Scarlet Rot. Not only that, but Games for Windows would encrypt your save files. The reason being, Microsoft didn't want gamers messing around with their saves and trying to cheat earning achievements. The stolen valor of gaming, if you will. Encrypting save files to prevent cheating may work on paper, but this is a fucking computer. Arkham Asylum really makes you feel like Batman not being able to save Rachel or the game. Arkham City really makes you feel like you live in Equatorial Guinea. Fallout 3 had so many issues with Games for Windows and its encryption that for well over a year, the Steam version was inaccessible to people who purchased a legitimate copy of the game. I guess Fallout 3 really makes you feel like an American consumer. So Fallout 3 players had to find a workaround. And the workaround was to straight up delete Games for Windows Live. Still to this day, one of the top 10 mods of all time on the Nexus is Games for Windows Live Disabler. I vividly remember as a young cheesecake my older brother having to torrent this game for me on our family computer, because the Steam version we actually bought with real money did not work. Here's an historically accurate photograph of said occasion. Needless to say that torrenting a game was not the safest thing for our computer.
The code is more what you call guidelines than actual rules.
The funniest thing about Games for Windows safety failings is not what the service itself, but rather the services they forced people into. Due to the countless frustrations and problems, people turn to alternative methods of gaming to get around Games for Windows, if you know what I mean.
The treasure map.
So many fixes of Games for Windows problems just suggest downloading cracked software or just turning to piracy. Dig deep enough and you can still find videos up on YouTube of people using key generators to bypass Games for Windows validations. Game how you want, I'm not here to judge. But there is a greater risk of downloading virus.exe from coolromaniangame.com, as opposed to just using the developer's storefront. It's painfully ironic that Games for Windows forced so many to privateering, given the company's track record. In 1976, computers like the Altair 8800 computer left used to store data on paper tape, but what many computer hobbyists would do is copy already purchased tape to create their own versions, which was then shared amongst their friends. Well, it just so happens that this paper piracy circumvented buying proprietary paper software from up-and-coming company Microsoft. This prompted Bill Gates himself to pen an open letter to the computer community, in which he infamously stated,
"As the majority of hobbyists must be aware, most of you must steal your software. Hardware must be paid for, but software is something to share. Who cares if the people who work get paid? I would appreciate letters from anyone who wants to pay up."
Obviously, every company is free to respond however they see fit to piracy. And obviously stealing is bad, hot take I know. But it's incredibly telling that this deep-seated fear of piracy in third-party products never left the company.
The future of gaming really involves software, better tools, being user-centric.
So why then did a company as anti-piracy as Microsoft fail to understand why people pirate products? Because it's something the very service that they tried to emulate understood very well.
See, to us, so we don't really worry about piracy. Piracy is a result of bad service on the part of game companies.
Perhaps they were too successful. Maybe it was their ego. Whatever it was, Games for Windows' final days were upon us. By the early 2010s, Games for Windows popularity had reached an all-time low. People were pushed to their breaking point, and when people are pushed around for too long, eventually they fight back. There were few that came to Microsoft's defense against the horde of criticism. Virtually every post on the Games for Windows Facebook page would get annihilated in the comments. When beloved games would be announced on Games for Windows, there would be petitions begging publishers to just don't, bro. Maybe Microsoft could turn this around though. With excellent customer service and problem solving, it was possible. It's been done before. Microsoft, I can't log into Games for Windows, my saves are dying of dysentery, and my game is bricked. Can you help? Did you spell it right? Yeah, that didn't work, and soon Microsoft started caving. The Games for Windows marketplace was quietly moved to Xbox.com, but Microsoft's resolve had never been stronger.
Do not fret, customers. We are standing by Games for Windows. Please ignore the fact that one of our most beloved PC games that could be easy money for us was exclusively listed on Steam.
Concerned gamers tried calling Games for Windows phone support, but would get no response. This is totally fine, nothing to worry about, okay? Well, until a warning siren blared from the very franchise moved to Steam. In a deleted forum post for Age of Empires Online, Microsoft claimed that Games for Windows Live would be discontinued on July 1st, 2014, and that after July 1st, servers for online games would shut down. Uh-oh. This created a mini disaster of its own within the miasma of shit that was Games for Windows. Since some games would only work if they had a connection to the Games for Windows servers, a few publishers started removing their games from online storefronts to avoid a potential lawsuit. Games for Windows was a sinking ship, and Microsoft was telling us to go back to our cabins. After the delistings, Microsoft announced that it was all just a goof and a gaffe. Mere rumors, go back to your drinks. And while not every single publisher rushed out to delist their games, it's probably not a good sign that developers have such little faith in your product that they're willing to lose thousands of dollars off a rumor. The same year, they also announced that the ability to buy new games using Microsoft Points, the online currency of Games for Windows Marketplace, would be retired, likely in the same way that Old Yeller was retired. Furthermore, the Games for Windows Marketplace that was moved to Xbox.com would also be retired. Can I purchase in-game content?
Contact the publisher.
Will I be able to purchase games?
Contact the publisher.
Can I still use it to buy Games for Windows Live games?
No.
Sir, this ship is like 100% verifiably peer-reviewed, certified fresh sinking. What do you do? What do we do? We are standing by Games for Windows Live forever. And in a mordant way, they were right. Following the inevitable sinking of Games for Windows Live and the entire Games for Windows brand as a whole, Microsoft could no longer deny the facts. Games for Windows was no more. While the actual service itself was discontinued, the problems it caused would linger on as Microsoft may have contained the outbreak, but failed to cure the disease. Sorry, Equatorial Guinea. Games for Windows Live was designed for Windows Vista and XP. It was not equipped for modern operating systems. Part of the reason why Fallout 3 was completely unplayable is that it was released in 2008, when Games for Windows was at its peak. But try and play a few years later on subsequent operating systems, and Games for Windows panics. Almost like Games for Windows had left behind some sort of invisible force that slowly kills its host in the future. Yeah, I'm not seeing any thematic connections here, guys. What started to happen is games that were released under the Games for Windows DRM wouldn't work. The death of Games for Windows truly was like a disaster, because people would post memorials detailing the names and faces of games that were still playable and those buried at sea. As far into the future as the 2020s, certain games were still a mess because of Games for Windows. Grand Theft Auto 4 had to be delisted from Steam for a time because of the Games for Windows DRM. In 2020, Capcom had to delist 5 games for similar reasons. The physical copy of Fable 3 on Games for Windows is actually worthless.
You cannot launch the game after installing it because it can't check if you have any free authorization slots available. It is not possible to play this game. At all.
These games won't be exiled to the land of misfit toys any longer.
We may have mourned the loss of our games, but no one mourned the one behind that loss. Like, at all. The ship sank, the house crumbled. The pain today is nothing more than a faint memory. Eventually, Games for Windows would be reborn into the Xbox app, and later inspire Game Pass. Reborn sounds strong. It's more like the cockroach you couldn't squash skidded under the fridge and mutated. But at least Microsoft got the virtuous cycle they desperately wanted so long ago. The road to hell is paved with good intentions or whatever, and Microsoft at least tried something new that's been more normalized now. By taking this road, Microsoft in a way embarked on a pilgrimage, a journey they thought was to a new holy land of fabulous wealth, a land of milk and honey and abundant water. And yet this pilgrimage became a holy war, where the Microsoft way was forced upon a previously free people. Because Microsoft, since the end of the Xbox 360 era, has never been about platform exclusivity. Their goal has been to have consumers be a Microsoft gamer, not just Xbox or PC. They see themselves more as a medium for delivering games, which is why the platform those games run on is less important, as long as it's Microsoft.
All of our gaming and entertainment resources, that's Xbox, games for Windows, and casual games, are under a single entertainment and devices division. This move reflects a very important principle, that games are driving Microsoft's company-wide vision for entertainment.
Whether or not this road led them to the promised land, I don't know. But I do know where this road actually took them. A Tower of Babel, where PC nationalism, console consumerism, none of it matters. It's a utopian world where every gamer speaks the same language. Where Microsoft erred, though, was overestimating just how important those identities were, and that the preference of platform matters more than they thought. Also, the product sucked balls. Microsoft tried to create a product that would make things easier for PC gamers, and in the process made it more difficult for everyone. They had toiled too long in their tower, making something that banked upon the customer experience, while seemingly having little experience with their customers. They tried to put a square shape in an X-shaped box. You may recognize this clip from the very start of the video. It's from Microsoft's booth in a German gaming convention in 2006, one of the public's first introductions to games for Windows. It is both the perfect prologue and epitaph for games for Windows, a completely arbitrary structure that serves no real purpose other than to keep its users stuck in one place, providing the illusion of progress, perhaps even a glimpse of joy, but still trapping you all the same, forcing you into a single choice, to step out and walk away. A choice that anyone who had to make it will never forget, for as long as they live.
Many thanks to my patrons. Your support makes
videos like these possible. If you want a more behind the scenes look at the channel, then consider joining. It goes a long way. Alright, see you later.